the beat. Circles. Click. Circles. Click. Circle. Circles. Click. Click the circles. Click. Circles.
All right, there we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CirclePeople podcast, where we talk about circles and related things. Yes. But yeah, this time we're going to talk about tournaments, how a tournament is handled, and all these different kind of roles that involve like a tournament. And we also make some references to our own experience and talk about future projects that are fairly interesting as well. But yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I'm Monzerious, your host, and I guess we'll start to introduce the other guys. And of course, Omgforz being here yet again as a co-host.
Hello.
And then we of course have Taron Bedin, aka Doomsday. I can properly pronounce his name now.
That's the one.
Fine. And then Evrien, who is new to this podcast.
Hello,
should be
hello.
a familiar face, I guess.
Yeah, let's look at my cute face on the stream.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's 100% real. So, girls, hit me up for numbers.
Yeah, he's adorable. But yeah, so tournaments. How is okay, I guess we can kind of start with our own roles when it comes to tournaments like normally. So I am a commentator. I have helped organize the tournament, but it didn't go so well. And we will talk about later on. But yeah, I mainly commentate tournaments, and that's about it. That's about all I do.
Next, I did a lot in Q Cup, I remember.
Oh
So
yeah.
I did a lot in that. And I know you did a lot of work for that.
We could talk about
yeah,
that later as well, because that's fairly interesting. Because
The
it's fairly
porn coach.
Yeah, man.
Lots of stories to share.
Oh god, Will HQ.
Oh. Hell yeah.
Yeah, first.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, go on, Fools.
Okay.
All right, go. I'm gonna go ahead then. In terms of tournaments, I have a lot of experience as a player. Played in pretty much most or like all of the major tournaments in the last 2 years, except for the last a few months. I've been a bit of on a hiatus, but nonetheless, I've been playing in a lot of tournaments. I've also been commentating a lot of tournaments and helped organize a bit like on the side. Also been involved in a bit of map pool selecting lately. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience on the board.
Okay, let's move into the guests. So I guess we can start with Doomsday because he seems really eager to talk.
No, man, I'm shy. I've played. I mostly play in tournaments recently. That's genuinely what I enjoy to do most. But I have ran a couple, or helped run a couple. I'm running one for my streaming community at the moment, which is currently underway. In the past, I've done a lot of commentary for community tournaments and World Cup. I commentated with these two, Evrien and Doomsday on the last one. So
Except for me.
Yeah.
hell yeah! I love how it's by coincidence we've got the three that commentated the final here. I like that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
couldn't really decide who go up, so we ended up all going, and that was
Yeah.
worked out quite well, I'd say.
We can
Yeah.
talk about it later, but let's get
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to Doomsday story.
It's a fun story.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much it, really. I just tend to play in as many tournaments as I can these days, and I've done a bit of commentating and hosting as well alongside that.
Okay, so hello, my name is Evrien. Of course, I am not as well known as these three fine gentlemen here. But I've done a lot of commentating. I've been commentating since 2015, and not really much of a player because my skill set is still quite limited in scope. And I guess I've been involved quite extensively in the backstage, in different directions. And
The one-man carry.
The one-man
carry. Carry the
I
whole
hope I can.
tournament all by his own. God.
Yeah. Oh, it's all on me, guys. Like totally, 100%. Yeah,
Sweep
but
dates commentated.
I try to get as much experience on me for different areas, so I can effectively know how to manage a tournament of my own eventually. Maybe in the future, I don't know. But yeah, so OCWT, All Star, a little bit of Dual Cup and OSST and OWC. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and by the way, I do apologize if it keeps refreshing because I'm recording this at a high bit rate, even though we aren't partnered, which might not be the best idea, but might get better soon. Okay,
You gotta get that quality.
so I just want to start to ask you guys when it comes to I guess we can sort of start on the player aspect, since we both have Doomsday and Forest, who are really two promising tournament players who have been there for years playing tournaments. So when it comes to a tournament from a player standpoint, how do you guys prepare for it, and how much time do you lay down to just in general practice for the tournament, I guess?
Oh boy.
The main thing is just making sure you play through the map pool. And generally, what I do is when I'm preparing for a round in a tournament, I play through each map a couple of times at the very least. And usually that's as far as it goes. The main thing is not sight reading the map pool. But outside of that, just general play and not being rusty is the main thing, because at the end of the day, it's a multiplayer game. So you don't have to put down many hours each week, to be honest, outside of just playing OS and keeping fresh.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, it's pretty much that. One of the most important things, in my opinion, as a player in tournaments is once you get the map pool, you actually can't really change a lot of the outcome in the match itself, because the best preparation you can really do are the years before it. The more you play and the better you get before a tournament, the better it is for you, because you're going to be able to adapt a lot more quickly. I'd say just play at least once through the map pool to see if there's a weird map which is mistimed, which is it's gonna be a deal breaker. And other than that, it's really up to the person if he needs 10 retries or just one, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess it's all about when it comes to memorizing a map, because it's sometimes, even though you are really consistent at being at getting out of these sticky situations where you aren't that familiar with the map, sometimes you really do have these awkward kind of patterns that you need to keep retrying to be able to get down and memorize, I guess.
Yeah, and to echo on the Force and Doomsday here, observation from past years does indicate that people who do prepare, do go to try out the map pool at least once, will tend to perform better than those who, let's say, download the map pool on the spot
This
Wolf.
is one guy who keeps doing it, and
Look,
I think everyone
come
knows who
on.
that is.
Wolf, it's the weird thing. Like, you think Wolf has no maps. You think Wolf has never played on a map. But this guy fucking tells us I played the entire map pool offline, and I tried to play it as long as he could until he sees each map, and he comes online and has like 5 maps, and he just deletes maps. He randomly deletes maps. I don't know why.
Once you update them
And
to
then
different
everyone's like,
versions,
oh,
that's
he's side reading.
Gotta-
Oh shit.
Got to keep clean versions.
Like,
Actually, I've been playing with
yeah,
Wolf.
guys. I downloaded maps. It's fine. I
Pretty good
played
for
them, but apparently they're gone now. You know.
Yeah, it's just all mind games, you know. The other team sees it hasn't got the map, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got this."
Yeah, we
That's
got this.
totally what it is.
Fine.
It's a mind game of his own team. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. And then, of course, like when it's come to, I think this is kind of an obvious answer for most people, since this is a question that everyone has asked, everyone that plays in tournaments, is nerves. Do they affect you, or as like, is it like that it gradually kind of fades away after a while? Like, I know that some people, even though that they are like played for a lot, nerves can still be a thing. But I guess it all depends on the mindset. Like, it's kind of like, it differs from people to people, but people kind of like have the same answer to this. But I really want you guys to answer this yet again, if you haven't already.
It is a big deal, yeah. I think its main thing is just like, if it depends on how big the occasion feels. Like, if you make a big deal out of it, then yeah, you're going to be nervous. But if you play a lot of tournaments and you're used to it, then that's pretty much it, really. It's if you overthink it, then yeah, you're going to go into it just, you know, Parkinson's. Sure.
I mean,
Parkinson's
a
plus
great way to describe
Alzheimer's.
it. Nice, that's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, Doomsday completely right in that regard. I'd say too. I mean, I would compare it to solo play. Do you get nervous when going for a high PP play? If yes, you're gonna be in bad shape. Just saying, by the way. If you get nervous on every single FC, you're gonna be nervous in multiplayer. There's nothing gonna change on that. Nothing. You really need to just change your mindset or get used to it. Get used to people seeing you and judging you for every mistake you do. That's why, for example, I started streaming, because I started streaming before my first OWC in 2014, I believe. I just started streaming and got used to people judging me. Pretty much like people like these 20, 30
You
people are
suck.
just watching me. I can't make a excuse and say, oh, they're watching my teammate who just missed. No, they're watching me directly. They're gonna judge every single mistake, and you just get used to it. That's how I view it, really.
It is Twitch chat being Twitch chat, I guess. I
Oh,
myself, I have been a part of one OC tournament, but I guess it kind of applies to other games as well, so I'm kind of just going to go a little bit, like, kind of off topic, but I played, like, Overwatch, Counter-Strike, and I did play, like, a little bit more, like, Counter-Strike in a, like, amateur-ish level, same with Overwatch, with a team, and it's just this thing where if you're a really emotional player, and if you're like, I gotta win, come on, guys, we can do it, like, eventually, if you keep speaking that inside your head, when you make a mistake, you keep like looking at that mistake while you're playing, and that's like the position that you can get in it, and it will eventually escalate and snowballing to you choking all the time. So you kind of need to get in this mindset where like you just need to perform at best. Misses happens, and I guess that's about it. Like, you shouldn't think of something way too much, because then you put your mind to something that you shouldn't put your mind on. It will obscure your vision, so to say, I guess. But
yeah, bang on. I think I'm with you on that. Yeah, because I mean, I guess with OS as well, it's because of the way, you know, if you miss a single note, your score is halved pretty much, and you know that can play on your mind as well. But it's just a case of don't overthink it, and you're gonna miss. It's fine. Just give it a go, and as long as you don't knock yourself over mistakes you make, it's not too bad. But it takes a long time to get to that point, because tournament matches, you know, you might play one every, well, if you're into it loads, once a week. Maybe sometimes you only play once every few months, and you know you work it up because it's an occasion. So it just take a while to get out of the mindset of overthinking it, because it's not a massive deal if you miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess it's all about just talking to yourself, and if you don't grasp that aspect where you feel like you need to change your mindset, you will be stuck for quite a while. Like, this same can apply to most things when it comes to playing games or anything in life. Really, if you feel like something needs to change, you should kind of focus on changing your mentality on certain aspects, I guess. Because you don't want to get stuck in this emotional spiral of you feeling that you did something horribly wrong when you can actually pick yourself up fairly easily if you just think it of it that way, I guess.
Yeah, actually, because I remember after a tournament that happened about a year ago called All Stars, our team reached the final and it went to tiebreaker, and I remember completely bombing the tiebreaker, and I beat myself up really bad over it on that day, which, it's not often, to be honest, that OS tends to get to me in terms of that, but I was pretty down after that because I felt like I let the team down. But it's that thing. Since then I use that, realizing, wait, it's not that big of a deal. It happens, and that's helped me not make a big deal of tournaments as they go on. So sometimes you just need those experiences as well to kick you in the backside and say,
just to get a better experience.
That was the time where the result was decided on score v1 by less than like around 300,000, right?
Yeah, it was really close.
Yeah, so it's 4v4, 300,000. There's a difference. So for those viewers out there who know what those tournaments are like, you can imagine how tense of a situation that was. So
yeah, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
So when it comes to playing these tournaments, and because we talked about this all about this, what do you guys enjoy when it comes to Oz tournaments? Because Oz is fairly different between these other games where it's all about predicting stuff, and it's more about individual performances to build up the team. And I really want to hear you guys' opinion that do you think something should change when it comes to scoring on tournaments, or do you think everything is fine, or what do you guys like about it? I guess I should phrase it.
Oh, you mean the score system,
or
only,
in general,
or what we
playing in a
generally
tournament.
mean, about...
Why do you guys do it, and why do you guys enjoy it so much?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say my first pretty much tournament was OWC 2K14, and in that tournament, I met people like Cytox. It was a pretty interesting group stage. I was in a group stage with China and Sweden and another one, and we beat China, and then suddenly people were really, really surprised that Austria beat China.
2014?
And then 2014, I believe it was.
I have to go back on that.
interesting-
I thought China came out that one with 3-0 from
We
groups.
won 4-3, I believe, on that
Okay.
tiebreak. It was pretty high. For some reason, I remember my stream had 300 viewers, and people were like, I don't know what these guys are saying in German, but it's a lot more hype than the OWC stream. It was a bit interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and then Sweden, last game of the Sunday group stage, we just bantered. We bantered so much. I'm really, really sad that there wasn't a multiplayer chat up in the stream back then, because it was just so much fun. I met Cytox, I just kept on shit talking him, and he kept saying things back. Eventually we won against them, but Cytox became a really good friend of mine, and obviously later on we met in Ass Crackers again, and we're tournament buddies pretty much. That's the main reason I actually play in tournaments, banter. Otherwise it's just too boring. I don't just want to appear to a match, play a map pool, and be like, oh, my nerves, I gotta perform, I gotta show off to all these people.
Was it that year that Sweden actually passed the group stage and actually beat Japan? Was it 2014?
That was 2015 or 16.
For 15, Japan died in group stage. And Force, I think you guys beat Argentina. You guys weren't in the same group as China. You guys came top 4-3 against
It
Argentina.
might be 2013 even. I don't know how
Yeah,
long.
possibly.
But as you remember that Sweden won
I'm just
against
digging into
Japan
history
and
right
lost
now.
against Japan
I'm getting
during the
old.
same tournament.
Yeah, we're old,
Yeah.
man.
I remember that. I'm really surprised your first tournament was that 2014 World Cup because I remember you did so well, and that was the very first one you ever played, was it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just O's back then was a lot different. Like you didn't really know the good players. I was just some guy in Austria who played maps on a one-try basis and wants to one-try see things. That was my way to enjoy the game. And I just came up to a tournament and I performed a lot better than I expected other people to perform. I remember one day in school, Illumitos and I were talking about the upcoming match against China. We were like, oh shit, we're gonna get fucked. Like realistically, we're gonna get stomped. We were the second lowest seed. Like we weren't unseeded, we were low seeded. Sweden and China were above us, and I was just saying, don't worry, Illumitos. Like just think about it. They're all humans, even though they're Chinese. They have to be humans. They gotta miss. And for some reason it worked out. I don't know how.
I still remember when the glory days for Sweden was high seeded, and now they're unseeded.
That was a
Feels
What-
bad.
It's
Like
the days of
everyone is stopped
Zytox.
playing. Everyone.
Praise Monstrata. Praise Monstrata. The PP system has finally taken its full form.
Strong man.
Like me,
yeah,
me
Dooms,
personally.
what do you think about tournaments and stuff?
What was that, sorry?
Oh no, I mean, if you want to go ahead, go for it.
No, but I used to remember, I think it was like back in 2013, I watched it for the first time, like on Twitch, and it was literally the first tournament I ever watched, and it was OWC, and I was just mind-boggled, like, about all these players, how insane they were, and that was kind of the thing that got me interested in, like, tournaments other than League in the first place, and I guess it sort of, like, began the interest in me commentating, and I had a really fun time. So I guess I took a little bit of inspiration from OWC when it beginning to get to commentate tournaments. Yes, but yeah, around continue.
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons why like it did that for me as well when I watched 2013. I played in it as well, but when I watched the VODs back, it's like because you know it had so many viewers on Twitch and it had like 5-digit viewers on Twitch. It seemed like a big thing, even though it was just. Even though it was run by the staff, everyone that worked on it pretty much was just community members, right? So it's like, you know, that could be us if you hang around the community, you know. It's not like a big production where, you know, you see a big production like in League or something and it's, you know, professionally made and it feels like they do it for the job. But this one was such a big viewer turnout for what's essentially just a group of community people doing something for a game they like. I guess it seems attainable.
I guess it was all about loving
certainly.
the game, and they kind of wanted to put this out there, and it turned out to be really successful.
Yeah, it really did.
That was also the point where everyone started to see, like, oh, there's this game. You can click circles. It seems fun. And then kind of like escalated after that Twitch stream. And you do also like see a bump in players after every OWC. Which is actually fairly interesting, but I guess that's mainly because of the publicity we get from streaming on Twitch, which is a really huge platform. But yeah, I guess we can move on now. What could we talk about now? I guess we can start to like make some references to some like other like tournaments and the experience we had with those tournaments. So, me personally, I would like to talk about Q Cup because that was interesting. Let me just tell you.
Oh yeah, Q Cup. I mean, like, I only remember that one guy who like hosted it. He's quite handsome, and he's, you know, like, yeah.
You mean the code to your host? There were 2 Q Cups. There were 2 porn couches. Come on.
There were 2 porn couches. Damn. I thought there were
Q Cup couches. Let's go.
Oh man.
That's set though.
I was trying to find it on Amazon, but apparently don't have it, or they don't ship it to where I live. That's sad.
So I'm going to go a little bit more like backstage now, like how everything works. That like when you entered into the like the whole studio, like into their office, it was first like this little like sofa TV, and then to the right you had the production room, like when you first walked in, and there you had these. It was these 3 computer setups right beside each other. And then was this really big production board, and I'm talking high end, like that, like the studios use here for like the Swedish national television, like the official television channels. And it was super big, and it cost like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it wasn't really good production what they did, because they do host another tournament called King of Nordic, which is officially sponsored by QPad. And that's sort of why we kind of used that equipment. And I kind of want to say that the tournament by itself wasn't sponsored by QPad. It was just, oh, we have QPad gear, we might as well give them away. So it was actually hosted by the ESCN studio. It wasn't really affiliated with QCup or QPad, even though it was called QCup. But yeah, so later on, like you continue forward, and like when you like go past the production room, you had this server room. And the funny thing, in the server room, they had like 4 gaming PCs, and they had like 2 mirrored setups, one in the production room, one in the studio room. So you had like these 2 like setups there as well. And kind of going a little bit off topic here, but I played like Counter-Strike with one friend of mine on one computer, so we kind of like switched after we died. It was pretty fun. But yeah, and then at like in the recording room, they had one big, like not really a big camera, but like a fairly like I would say a medium-sized camera, and this huge green screen that was so fun in the middle. And everything was actually handled by the production board, so you had like these fake shadows and like lighting, so it was fairly interesting to see what a professional studio can do to such a simple thing. And I was when I initially walked in there, I thought that, oh, I'm only going to be a commentator, but the boss had other ideas, so apparently I was going to be a host. And by the way, they were really professional, even though when we weren't doing stuff, we was like drinking beer, playing games, like around the table and talking. These card games, I mean, they were fun people, but when stuff had to be done, it was like full-on work. And it was really interesting to see like the whole production model that they used for this tournament, because it was fairly unique when it comes to Oz. And I would say that is currently my best experience thus far when it's come to commentating or like hosting, be a part of a tournament. So
Mons,
that was probably yeah.
Like after this experience, do you think something like Oz could benefit from a studio or a studio-run experience of a tournament?
I think that the funding is there to have like still like have the mid-range of production that it could be easily done with a green screen, sofa, whatever, and easily accessible like things that you can work around with OBS. I think that it is doable, but the problem is benefits. I don't really see, like we already have this community and they already watch the tournaments. I'm not sure that they would drag in more people if you had this bigger production, because if that case, it would also have to focus on like get the name out there for the stream, and like other people don't play the game, because I think the community is already there for what it is, which is fine by itself. So I don't really find it necessary to have this big production, and I don't think that they would benefit from it. But that's my opinion, of course.
It was really nice to see it, though. I mean, like, what I thought, oh yeah, like, you know, Q Cup sponsored by QPad. It was like, that sounds pretty cool. And then you realize that they had such a high end setup for an OST tournament. It just blew my mind because I've seen nothing like this before for OST. I was thinking, yo, what's next? To be honest, that's what I thought when I first watched that stream, because yeah, the setup looked like dope. So I was not expecting it.
It was insane. Like the most common question I got, like, was that real? Because the whole backdrop looked insanely realistic, even though it was obviously fake, but it still looked real. I know, like how I can put it into words, but it looked like
Uncanny Valley,
in this,
close,
like really big studio with a bunch of monitors and everything. Like I still remember when we were on the host scene, when I was here talking, they had this like curved monitor, and the OS itself, like the game, was curved into the monitor. So it was fairly interesting to see like how realistic it looked, like except it only being done on a production board. So that's fairly interesting.
Yeah. Crazy, considering all the work that went into that, certainly.
But yeah.
They had 2 tournaments, didn't they? I remember one of the tournaments they were messing about with the soundboard in between matches. That was...
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Kurva.
That's the one.
No, like their production, they were talking to me in my ear and they really fucked with me. But I think like the bad point of that tournament was, I didn't really stop. Like I was just sitting there staring at the matches when it happened, and I didn't have any free time, like any time to do anything else. So eventually, I felt like I know if I were like malnourished, like I didn't eat enough food, but I sat there and everything like around me started to spinning. Like I was looking at 2 lights that was really up in my face. It was insanely bright. And sitting there staring at that for roughly 4 hours, it really took a toll on me. And I started to feel really nauseous. The room was just spinning around. I guess the host started to like look at me and see like, oh, something is wrong with this guy. So they pulled me over. They ordered me a pizza. They got a beer. So
a pizza.
Wow. Yeah. So I was just sitting there eating. Polak took over really well.
Was that the point where they got worst Polak on the show?
Yeah, during the first part. But during the second part, Polak was like, I don't need you, so I'll just take it over for the second day. So he took... no, not the second day, the other week. But I really liked it. It was fun. It was probably... It was a really good experience for me, especially to do something that a lot of people dream of doing so early. And it was just because of Polak. Like, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's a commentator. Bring him in. Because there isn't really many experienced commentators within Sweden, except for Kutayo and I. So it was really fun to do it. And I really enjoyed the company, like especially Polak and Emma, like his girlfriend, and the boss. They were really nice people. They really like helped me to pull through it out of nowhere because it was so spontaneous. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I guess we can move into like the other guys. So I think we should start with Evrien because you did a lot of work for OCWT. A lot of work.
Yeah.
During the first...
It's actually the first tournament that I came in. I basically started as just this random player who's only got back because of OWC, like you. And back then, Prophet, who was the organizer, he was just having this thread up, and I checked it out because I obviously have nothing better to do, senioritis in my college year also. So I decided to go out on a limb and submit myself forward and see if I can help out in any way, which is actually, I think, looking back, the smartest thing I've done for OS, in that year, because a lot of times in tournaments, especially, it's all run by people. So you're not dealing with like your boss, your teacher, your supervisor, none of that. You're just coming out from your own hobby, and I think that's what's important about it. Like you have to do it out of your own passion, otherwise it's just work, right? So my point is, I guess I really urge everyone who want to get a different sensation out of O's to look into that. Like consider submitting yourself forward. Don't just be a part of your passive crew. And yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone that I think everyone that works on those tournaments does it for the passion because it's
except for maybe never mind.
But yeah, as you said before, like single-handedly streaming and commentating a whole tournament, it really did take a lot of your free time, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like you streamed for how many hours, like per day on the weekend?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't do stream, but back in OCWT7s, I was pretty much the only streamer because they only had one guy who knows how to speak English and could stream on Twitch. So I ended up doing like marathons on group stages. I would literally just sit in front of my computer for like like at least 10 hours every day.
And
Yeah,
then
that
in the
was-
grand finals, you're like, I'm finally rid of those 5-hour-long matches in a row, and then you get the fucking
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the longest record in OS history. 4
and then you
hours
got
and
the
48
1
minutes.
hour delay. Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah.
That
you
was
think it's
insane.
finally over with all of these matches in a row, but then there's like just one match, and it's,
you're you're being overly optimistic. You think that?
I do believe
Bloody
there was
hell.
something like with the referee and the clients.
everything went wrong that day.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about it because I got PTSD. It's immediately.
Yes.
Dude,
Yeah.
you don't know what I've been through, man.
I kind of guess as a banter just said, no, I won't do it. I won't deal with this. I can't take
Yeah,
it anymore.
Bancho, if you've had any tournament experience, you know that he doesn't like those players.
Yeah. And it only happens during tournaments, if I might add. And especially during the grand finals. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure, yeah.
every tournament that I've been a part of, Bancho decides to work fine during the group stage, like the most heaviest load on the tournament. But then later when it got to the like most viewed part, like the climate of the whole tournament, the grand finals, it just decides to not function correctly and give wrong scores, and it just does weird things.
But it got better. It got a lot
Hello.
better. In OWC, less OWC we commented. I mean, Evrien and Doomsday can, I think, chime in here and also give their opinions. But I think the client has gotten a lot better. And now we'll have less of Twitch chat reacting with, oh, what's up? Dance game, what baby rage, rigged.
But
What's the
both,
score gone?
Ghost misses don't happen anymore, thankfully.
Yeah.
Oh god,
Every single map.
That was so devastating as a commentator because sometimes, like for the most part, it was really obvious when you had a ghost mist. You could easily tell when it was his easiest note, and people used that to
But Twitch chat
missed it.
couldn't.
But
yeah, but the thing is that tournaments are so stressful, and sometimes even an easy slow section can trip you up. So I was like, wait, is that a ghost miss or is that actually real?
honestly,
Yeah.
like
Pretty much.
we
was
can't
the
really
worst.
blame it on the tournament client because it was done years after the game was created, and then it was so hard to implement it into the base code. So they just decided to let's make something, put a backdrop, and add every individual client and have it spectate everyone at the same time. So when you have this 8-player tournament, or like 4 per team, of course, you will have 8 clients on at the same time. And it's fairly stressful for Banshee to keep up with 8 clients at the same time. And you just decide to not function correctly. But it's been gotten better throughout the years, and people are talking about now that we're getting also next, or also lazy. That there might be some improvements there as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot better. The thing is, though, as well, is you got to think that the people watching it, especially during World Cup, that gets so many viewers, you know, a generic viewer will come in and see it as a big professional event. So when they see constant bugs happening, they're thinking, oh, it's NA production quality and all this shit. You know what I mean? It's obviously there's a lot into it. We know you understand that, you know, there's a lot going on and things can go wrong. But from the viewer standpoint, that's the issue. That's why it's important to minimize. But I'm definitely with you on like Mons. It took a lot of time for them to fix it because it was quite a complicated issue, I suppose, with the way they had it rigged up initially.
And it was also the time where Pepe was the only coder, so he did everything by himself. Of course, like the old days.
I mean, there were always a few helpers, but I think it's gone a lot more mainstream with the teams right now.
Yeah, especially like let's go a little bit off topic here, but they do have like the Discord server, and it's open source, so people can contribute if they want to. And actually, I do believe that if they contribute a lot, that they actually get a little bit of money at the side if they help us in a good way. If I'm correct about it.
Exactly, yeah, some incentive at least.
So that's
do
also
get
something
bonus
that has
money.
kind of made it better throughout the years as well, especially now during the recent year.
Yeah, pretty much. Hopefully, those next, like I say, hopefully they bring in some nice additions tournament client wise, though. Because as good as it is now, we still have issues sometimes where, you know, the end scores at the bottom sometimes can be off. And sometimes you end up having one team winning when, in fact, just that's some sort of bug. That's probably the largest one, I'd say. in terms of incorrect misses or whatever. Because sometimes that number is inaccurate for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So you kind of still have to check the MP to double check, to make sure you don't call things wrong and things like that.
Yeah.
That,
It gets
that's
really
a good
awkward.
part, though. The MP is always right?
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
should be
most
right.
cases
Get
they're
it wrong.
not. I don't think I've ever seen MP or it's not right, or even when it's not right, we kind of just like say, okay, MP says though. We let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Follow
MP,
the-
I think, has like the raw data gotten received by the server, so it should always be right.
Okay, so I guess
There
we
you
can
go.
move into like when it's come to organizing a tournament, and of course, Doomsday do have like a lot of experience involving like organizing tournament, but I guess we all have been involved in some way. But I guess we can mainly start with you, with your Corgi Cup.
Yeah, well, at the moment and over the last 6 months, I've been hosting a community tournament for my streaming community called Corgi Cup, because we love bad puns. But yeah, it's not a massive production in comparison to many like things like OCWT and Q Cup, like Mons and Evrien have worked on. It's a smaller thing, but yeah, I've been working on those. Generally, to be honest, when it comes to organizing a tournament, the host does a lot, but it comes down to the whole team effort you have. There's no way you can run a tournament with just the one person unless
Yeah,
you happen
definitely.
to have nothing else apart from that on. But I mean, generally when I host it, what I do is, well, generally I put together the basic docs for the staff and the players, but it's generally the people helping me out that keeps it up to date. And I generally focus on doing the commentary and streaming, and also working on map pools as well, alongside Forz and Katayo actually helping me out on the latest one. So
Oh yeah, Kotayo. He's the guy I tend to go for when it's come to when I need someone to get down. Is Kotayo, can you just quickly make the map pool and he'll just get it down in a couple of hours easily. But yeah, like
so he did a good job on Q Cup. I was like,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. And he poked me saying, hey man, I'd be interested to help out if you're doing another one. And I'm like, yeah, man.
yeah, he also
be
did
happy.
help out during like anti-beat tournaments as well, like for Yasuke with who was it that did it with him?
Skystar with
Skystar
Prophet.
and
Prophet. Oh
Prophet,
my
yeah.
god, that's an
Skystar.
entire landmine we're stepping on here. Like, holy, that entire tournament was a fiasco. What the
Yeah.
map was selecting was also a bit of a thing. Well, let's get back to Kotayo for a second. Like, I remember my first experience with Kotayo was back in I think it was the first tournament I actually commentated. Yeah, it was like a Swedish or Scandinavia only tournament. I had no clue about Scandinavian tournaments, but it was like Cytox asked
Oh,
me.
yeah.
It's like, hey dude, after OWC, he's like, hey dude, you want to help out this tournament? Cytox was one of the only commentators. You was the organizer, and that's it. And then a few referees. Oh yeah, were you also in the tournament?
The first one.
It was
the
the-
second one I
it was the
boycotted.
exact. It was the first one by
Yeah.
Kotayo.
No, it
Were
wasn't
you
on my
really
cake.
there?
It was somebody's other guy. And it was like
Yeah, it was another guy, but that was the first Swedish tournament in general. But then Kotayo made like his own Swedish tournament. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He like came out of nowhere as an organizer.
Oh
and did
yeah.
it.
I was part of a
that was-
Scandinavian tournament. Not
Yeah, that was a
Swedish.
different one, I think. Well, like that was the tournament where Kotayo was like, I need help, and I helped out. I talked about him with map pools and how to pick maps in general. Like I trying to look at these factors for balance. Like back then, it was really rough, but like just look at the map, look at the flow, the mapping style, and stuff like that. And I helped commentating and stuff. That was actually my introduction to commentary in general. Like Kotayo, going way back, I really like the dude. He's pretty nice. He was first guy to appear on the Q Cup Pawn Couch, and that is really something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something you can have pride.
Sadly, I didn't have a proper couch. Like it was just one sofa, like one little small couch. But yeah,
Yeah.
my first experience with Kotayo was meeting him at DreamHack. It was at the point where I wasn't really involved within the community, but it was sort of like the start where I started to get more involved with the Swedish and Twitch community, and it kind of just escalated, and I got to know him more later on as well during the anti-beat tournaments. U Cup Cruise, like all those tournaments he was a part of, I believe. All of them, yeah. And yeah, and there was also this. Oh yeah, by the way, the one thing that I have to mention for the Swedish tournament was the Austria meme. That was what was wonderful, if you remember that one, like the map meme.
Yeah.
Like,
And by
what
the
are you
way,
talking about? Austria is a part of Sweden.
Yeah, that was actually
Close enough.
that happened because one day I know that Omgforz was the original guy who thought about the thing and made it actually opened Photoshop and put Austria in there,
Yeah, because
like
you had to play
between
to fill
Finland
in.
and
I
Sweden.
remember.
Exactly, because the idea was we had like 15 or 31 teams. We were one team off. So one team had like 3 teams in the group stage and we're missing a 4th. We don't want to rob them of any playing experience. So what we managed to do was we
Memes.
put in a SOS team, a meme team, which was me and Codio playing together. Like
Team.
good, but
Look
the
it.
thing is, we don't have any other streamers or commentators. So what we did was actually, I remember someone was streaming, and I unmuted my microphone and was while we were playing, I was commentating. That was really interesting, actually, really interesting experience.
Multitasking.
I kept on talking about about Kodio's score, and he just kept on laughing because I kept saying, "Oh, it would be a shame if Kodio were to miss. Oh, Chiefers just missed it," because I kept on talking.
First
It was
incidents
just-
where one uses commentator's curse strategically.
Yeah, you can literally curse
There you go.
yourself because the moment you open your mouth and you're trying to think about coherent sentences, you're out of the game.
Yeah, commentator's curse
Yeah,
is
it was
really
really fun.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
known for making some really bad calls, so making people miss, and my timing seems to be out of this world and hilarious.
On point.
Yeah,
It's a
and
real
some teams
thing.
do tend to, like get affected by commentators' curse more often than others do. China banned me from commentating on them. So I had to like go like say, oh, meanwhile USA is doing this, meanwhile USA is doing that because like stop talking about us.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you know that you have reached a point where you start to be like, oh, it would be a shame if this guy missed out, and it doesn't. Like, when you reach that point, it's just like pure cack. It's just amazing. This is like I feel special now. I'm contributing to a team's victory, right?
Dear me. To be fair, like actually, like, when the point
Real
when the
HQ.
commentator looks at some FC and is like, "Oh, he's doing really well," by the time you're saying that, when you're realizing they're doing well, the player is that's when they're often thinking, "Oh wait, I'm doing really well."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's when the nerves come in.
Yeah.
So there might be a little bit of logic to that. When you realize they're doing good, they realize they're doing
It's
good.
like,
you know what I'm
oh, I'm
saying?
doing well. Oh shit, I'm doing well. Oh shit, I'm missing. And it usually comes down to a slippery slope like that.
Okay.
That happens, man.
But I guess we can move on to like more now and kind of put our minds together and like how we think a tournament should be handled, like organized. And mainly like what I think is that when you have this organizer, you shouldn't have this closed-minded person who doesn't take feedback. I like if you ever want to like organize a team and make sure that it is a team effort, that you work with both your community and your team, like commentators, referees. Make sure that everyone feels comfortable. But if someone messes up, you can be a little bit aggressive to say like, "Oh yeah, this is wrong," but you shouldn't like necessarily like start to talk.
Wait, is this
about
just
them up
me,
in
or
public.
are you like directing shots at OWC?
Like I think it's kind of back and forth between different. Like for example, I still remember the Scandinavian tournament where we have this one organizer, which like he was a nice guy, but he didn't really have the right mind when it comes to organizing things. So he just screwed up the time zone, so we had to delay it further a week, and it really escalated, and that's why I kind of boycotted the next one. But I don't really think he was a bad person, but it was more about his screw up that I didn't feel like I wanted to be a part of this, because it just became a train wreck. But I guess it, like, without calling shots and telling that people are bad, I guess OWC kind of like that, but it has been gotten better throughout the years, I've heard. in some aspects.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people generally did the job in the last one. Like, there weren't much. I mean, obviously, as commentators, weren't involved in the planning a lot, but it seemed like generally people were doing the job. Apart from a couple of people not showing here and there, but I mean, it was nothing too major as far as I know.
Force and
Could be
Matt
wrong.
did talk about something though that you guys felt really devastated over, like felt like was like not on the good side of things, was when you guys got directed by the organizers to
Yeah,
like,
we
do
had
it
to
in a
talk
certain way.
a long time about commentating as 2 versus commentating as 3. In that,
Oh, yeah.
that sense,
Mhm.
that was a bit. It did take a while, but we managed to find a conclusion. But for some reason, we still ended up commentating as 3, which wasn't really planned. It was more of a 2-man-and-a-half cast, I think it was. Yeah, 2-man-and-a-half cast. That was the plan in the grand finals.
Yeah, I was supposed to be the
And there was also
translator.
like some
and-
snarky comments. If I got to guess, if I got the right forth regarding like the commentating style.
Oh yeah, no, that's an entirely different topic. That was like Reddit and the entire like social aspects, really. Like, I mean, we can delve into commentating, although we still wanna focus on the tournament.
I guess it still is on the organizing side.
All right, so yeah,
Sure.
I mean, as an organizer, it would be best if you get a team of people who you can definitely trust. That's one of the most important things. Also, who follow your line of thinking, pretty much. Like as Doomsday previously said, you need your team. You need Yessi as a referee, and referees are pretty much done, right?
There you go.
But
Yaz
yeah,
organizer, done. Nah.
but one big aspect I think of organizing is communicating between staff and selecting schedules. And one of the schedules might even be the commentating schedules, which would decide which people are gonna commentate with each other. And that has been a big topic in the last OWC because we were in this weird situation in OWC where we pretty much only had the O-staff guys commentating. Slowly after the years, they introduced new people, and this year we got a bunch of community casters into the OWC. But then we had a problem of the community casters know each other pretty well, most of the time at least, and already had a bit of synergy. But then we just like were thrown in with, for example, I'm getting thrown in with C-Trot. I've never really talked to him in a longer period of time. I know his personality a little bit, but I had to commentate with him. I mean, I tried to make the best out of it, but it was still a bit weird. Like it felt weird. Like OWC should be top-notch quality from the get-go, but we couldn't have quality if there was like no experience beforehand. That kind of
definitely.
situation was a bit weird, I think.
Yeah,
Definitely
and I think that's
improvement,
really
yes.
a good note to turn into more. Car, hello, but so like that we can turn into more on the topic of commentating, because we're all here experienced commentators in like any way, shape, or form, and some people are more experienced than others, but we do have like the aspect like how things should work, I guess, or in our opinions, of course. But this is general like things that gets tied together that you see everywhere when it comes to commentating. But when it comes to us commentating, it's fairly different, because let's compare it. Like, to make a good point, I'm going to compare this to, let's say, League of Legends to Counter-Strike, and another big esport title. We have the main part of the commentary being predicaments, like how people would move, like in like what kind of way, what are they going to do next. That's not really a big point of us commentary, because you can't really predict what is about to happen. One thing that you can do is that you can understand how map works and kind of go through like the technical aspects of the map, what is going to happen next on the map. Maybe we go into more of a slow section, things get a little bit more sped up, aggressive, jumps, streams, whatever. And then you can also, like, if knowledgeable, compare it to the players, what their strong points are. And I think that's one of the main aspects of commentary when it comes to us. But then we also, of course, got the hype commentary, which is sort of the build-up when something big happens. You keep hyping up until you reach the climax. And I guess it sort of depends how experienced you are, but when you're a really good commentator, you will know when to switch modes. Hello? To kind of be a little bit more aggressive.
And when not to
hype
hit
things
your
up.
microphone.
Yeah.
Aggressive bash.
But yeah,
Well,
what's your guys'
yeah.
opinions like when it's come to commentating again?
Oh yeah, yes. So there's a color commentary. That's color commentary is the explanation thing, and play-by-play is the hype, pretty much as a definition.
Yeah, it's pretty much it actually.
This is actually an interesting topic because we're actually in O's. We have no. Let's just be honest here. We have no fucking clue really what to do properly. There's so many ideas around it, and there's so many opinions going around. As in, some people really like when you're in the match, you have to call out every single miss, every single combo drop. Just talk about the combos. Don't talk about anything else. Just talk about the combos.
Yeah, like the obvious things that's happening on the screen, and that's sort of ties into like call-outs and hyping things up.
Yeah, but that's for example opinions of some people, but other people, like for example, I think that you should use the frequency of how often you mention something or how you hype it up is important, because if you hype everything up, how do people really know if it's really hype? If you hype the really important aspects up, you know this is like serious. The same with the combo drops. I don't think people are blind. They can compare combos. They can compare numbers. In my opinion, a commentator should explain what is going on, or like what is not extremely apparent. Oh, a player is underperforming. Oh, that's because he played Harrog on this really hard map and let the better player play Nomad, so he doesn't, he sacrifices himself so another player can perform a lot better. Something like that. That's something which is not apparent at first, but has to be explained, or could be explained. But the combos or scores, in my opinion, just you can see them, you can compare them, you can. I don't know. That, for example, for me, that's a really low, just priority. I would, in that case, I would actually prefer two people who can just talk about things all around, because I don't know, combo calling out wasn't really always a big point. I really liked its commentary.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's also
I'm
a fairly
guilty
big
of that a
point,
lot. At least
like when you have more people working together.
Combo calling is a lot of just on the spot hype. I mean, at times it does make it a lot more interesting when the situation is very tense and the two sides are highly competitive. But on the other, like I think to echo on what you said, the audience do want to hear from the commentators, because commentators are essentially this extra voice that provides some additional information about the match that they're seeing right now. And if you cannot provide that extra detail, like I said, like things regarding your player's play style, his mod preferences, his strengths and weaknesses, things that are not apparent on the stream window itself. If you cannot not provide these information, then why have you out there, right?
Yeah.
I do feel like when it's in like a tense situation, when it's like, say in like a team match, it's like when you got one full combo to one full combo near the end and one of them drops. Definitely then. When it's like a big element of the map, it's worth calling out. But I'm certainly when I'm commentating, I did it a lot during World Cup, I'm guilty of going, oh, he's missed. Well, there's a miss there. I did that a lot. I did overdo that a little bit, certainly.
You get a miss, you get a miss, everybody gets the miss.
Everyone get a miss.
Curse everyone.
No, but
I mean,
I guess
we get
it depends on like the level or like the severity of the myth. Like sometimes it's like, oh yeah, he dropped his combo, but sometimes you're like, oh, this is devastating. He dropped his combo. It will like really like make the other team catch up. Like blah 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 blah. Like it's just these different levels that you need to decide, like to tone your voice, etc. And like how really like decide when you really should hype things up and when you should just let out like some basic information out there.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that comes with experience, really, when you know the flow of things. And yeah, once you eventually know what's severe and what's not, you generally just know, and it becomes natural as you go.
Yeah, and I guess we're also being in like when it's come to like having multiple people casting and how that can affect everything. And of course, like Evrien is probably the only one that has like by himself commented a whole like tournament and doing it in a really good way. But
Omgforz and Doomsday probably did like solo matches, but yeah, I pretty much did a solo tournament.
No, I've definitely not done a solo tournament. Evrien, the trooper, right
No.
there.
But the main thing for me when it's come to having an additional caster, like 2 in one group, is to have different opinions. You can discuss things rather than just saying your own opinions. Like you can add some color, you can add some information
yeah.
so that the guy's opinion, and you can kind of like build this ladder together and work as a team. And of course, it's fairly hard when you have these like 2 different commentators aren't familiar with each other. And it might get a little bit awkward since while you're commentating, you're trying to learn how the other guys reacted to what you're saying. That might be fairly hard as well. So another tip, if you're going to commentate something, if you are placed with a co-commentator that you don't have much experience with, make sure to talk with them before the match. Try to like let them know what you're good at, and eventually, like just when you start talking, you see the cues. Like you will be able to mentally see the cues when you can start talking, when you're experienced to talk with a certain person, and when it happens naturally, that's when you both can enjoy it more and make it less awkward. Also provide
So in a way, you want to get comfortable before going into action. So commentating is like sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good at foreplay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things really is to avoid those awkward silences when no one knows what they're saying, and that's one of the big things. If you don't have an experience with someone and they say something, you don't know how to retort, you end up with that awkward silence. Like in a match, when that match or match is going on, you don't want too much chatter going on. But in between matches where you got to fill time, awkward silences tend to permeate a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The best thing you could do is just practice talking about all things. Like eventually, even if something like happens that kind of gets silence, like you can keep yourself up by talking about stuff that you have on the side notes. For example, the previous match, what happened, compare things, talk about what's going to happen. Like you can kind of make a prediction. Oh, what is going to happen next, and stuff like that. And it's kind of this thing where you need to feel what you think is going to happen next and kind of just assume things instead of just stating. You could like add some facts to your like assumption, like depending on like, oh yeah, which map is going to be chosen next and stuff like that. Like you just need to be able to fill that gap with something. And it does take a little bit of practice, but when it becomes natural, it's going to be fairly easy to talk with things at all time. Like especially if you know the person.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true, definitely.
Now that I think about it, I actually think that something like Deadbeat in the OWC was really helpful. He was in the background. He was always present in almost every match at least. He was a statistician, and he pretty much had all the statistics. And if you ask him something, he could pull it up, and then we can talk about something like that. And that's always pretty handy. I think that was a nice little touch, which I don't think a lot of other tournaments really had, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fairly interesting.
For those who do not know who Deadbeat is, if you were around for the Oz World Cup, he was basically the person who comes in occasionally to say, yeah, just to add in that, here's some statistics, like this map's been picked by this number of teams over this general period of time, and so basically he provides some very useful insight.
And by the way,
super handy
quickly,
guy.
I forgot to mention something before, but we will soon move into the Q&A session. And if you want to ask us any questions regarding tournaments or anything else related, be sure to post them on Twitter with hashtag CircleTalk, which you can see under adorable Evrien over there. Here, like hashtag CircleTalk. And we'll make sure to answer them at the end of the podcast. So yeah, I guess we can continue now.
Yeah, I want to add actually one point to what we were talking early on, which was having to communicate with the other commentator before a match would be really beneficial. Because we actually had one little experience, or I actually had one little experience, which was something like that backfiring. I think it was the second or first match with Doomsday. It was the Brazil versus USA match. and I
yeah.
tried to pull something along the lines because I used it a few times in community tournaments and it worked out fine, which was just like start bantering, call a fill time, you got to start bantering. So one of the interesting things to kind of at least create some dynamic is to root for a team, the other one roots for a team, and you banter at each other like, oh, your team is really doing bad right now. Guess I should have already retired and just something of value. And I tried to pull it, and I didn't really talk about Doomsday with this at all. So we were not on the same level at all. So it
No,
was just like me being like extremely biased towards Brazil, and then it just backfired. It wasn't too funny, unfortunately. But then I also had a bit of feedback afterwards, which was saying, "Hey, you're way too biased." I'm like, yeah, I mean, I did it on purpose, but it didn't work out. I guess I'm not gonna do it anymore.
I guess people don't get
something
it
like
when you're
this.
being like fairly like ish sarcastic or you're memeing around, but if you do know someone and that happens, there can really be some gold moments. So you shouldn't really be scared away from making a joke unless it's horrible. But memeing around can be okay if it doesn't hurt anyone. So
yeah, of course. I completely missed that cue, to be honest. And also, I really wanted Brazil to win, so I couldn't be convincing.
the thing I
I couldn't be a
noticed with
convincing
Force,
USA fan. I'm sorry. So, it had to be done. Like as that match was going on, I was like, dude, please Brazil, please win. I want to see Brazil win. So, but yeah, I completely missed that cue.
the thing that I noticed with Force is that he generally makes his tone or talking like an overly like Austrian manner when he makes jokes. So it's fairly easy for me to tell when he's fucking
Overly
around.
Austrian.
Man.
Yeah, Forza and I, we've commentated a lot of times now, so we've gotten into accustomed to each other's style. And I would say also that Force is someone who basically blends in very well with a number of casters, namely Chippy. For those who have his YouTube account subscribed, I think it's on his YouTube. Basically, he turned like a game where he bantered with Chippy into just like an amazing display of shit talking and improvisation on the spot. I think it's. Do you have the link? I can't find the link anymore, but someone should probably post the link. I think it's amazing.
I think I edited the match out and put a few highlights out there. It was just one of the funniest moments in commentating I ever had, because Chippy is really a blast to commentate with, because he has really stupid ideas, but when you actually go for them, they are actually extremely genius. Like,
I guess it's sort of like 50-50. Sometimes it can be overly done, but at least he tries. And a lot of the times it's actually really good, but sometimes
he needs someone to play off of.
Yeah,
which pretty much
he needs to like be held on a leash from time to time, because sometimes he go overboard. But I really like him as a commentator because he just makes everyone smile. Even though he sometimes try a little bit too much, but I really like him as a commentator. But I kind of feel like you have to have someone like Force who can play around with him a lot or keep him on a leash when it's necessary. But yeah, I like.
When they call me the dog whisperer when commentating with Chippy.
Chippy whisperer.
Oh,
Good
God.
deal. What a legend.
Okay, so I guess we can start moving into the questions now, because we're closing into the end. But as I said before, if you do have any question that wants us to answer, make sure to tweet them with the hashtag CircleTalk, which you can, like before, see below Evrien, and we will make sure to answer it. And it can be directed to any of us, really, or being a general question as well. It depends on you, I guess. But yeah, let's continue meanwhile. So, Chippy, like, is there any other hype commentators or people who are like really out there, like up in your face, that you guys like?
Yeah, I would say Eman F-Man.
Oh yeah, I remember Acer
Yeah.
talking about him, and he was like insanely good.
Yeah, he's very good with on-the-spot casting and reactions. Some of his reactions are priceless and really captures the intensity of the moment.
Yeah,
if
I
anything.
really love his build-ups. Like when like hypes happen, he starts like running really fast, Like he's
Yeah, he
going
nails
straight
hyping.
towards the top, and I know like his build-ups are genius. Like when it comes to hype. Then like when it hits the climax, he hits the climax. Like it's insane. He's really up in your face in a really good way, not annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoy commentary too.
Yeah,
I do.
and it's
Actually,
really
one
nice
of
to see
the
like the
few-
difference between like you can sort of see the difference between like every commentator, like the way they talk, the way their like tone changes when they start like hyping things up and everything. But that's fairly interesting, I would say.
One of the actually most interesting people I had the pleasure to commentate with was actually Asa. It was, I think, the only experience where I just commentated one match with him, and we like had almost perfect synergy. We were constantly playing off each other. We never had to really mention any combo, and we just kept on talking. And that was, I think, that was All Stars. But like one match, we never managed to commentate again. Maybe it was just a one time thing of just having luck that we understood each other's cues immediately. But it was just one of the things which I'm like, I don't know, not enough really experience, but it was interesting. Like, I don't know.
My most memorable moment with commentating was when you and I, you started to make all these. I know, like, we started to make all these puns out of nowhere. Like, it just happened. It was intentional, but we kept making pun after pun, and it just was amazing. It was hilarious. But I can't remember which tournament it was. It was some time ago. Like, I haven't commented
I've
for like a year.
commented so many matches with you. I can't remember shit. Just to be honest, like I can't remember anything.
But yeah, I'll make sure. Can we get our first question now, John? And yeah, I'm not calling you Josh now. We call you John. Okay, no one is
What's
asking
asking?
questions. Fair enough. But yeah, if you do have any questions, go on Twitter. Tweet them with the hashtag CircleTalk. We'll make sure to answer them. If not, we'll just keep on bantering until we finish. But if you really want...
Yeah.
Okay, what's your top 5 graphics tablet and keyboards for Osu? Each. I guess this applies to everyone. Half, except for Doomsday, because he's not using a tablet. But for me...
I have a favorite tablet. Yeah.
graphics tablet, yeah.
Yeah.
When it's come to me, especially when it's come to tablets, I've been in love with the 480s ever since I used it. But I'm not necessarily a huge tablet player, but it's still a really good tablet nonetheless. Like the response time is really great. To get the full experience, there is a third-party thing that you can use for Windows to improve the like input lag as well. But when it's come to keyboards, for me, the best budget board that I've ever used, that I'm using right now, is the Crossfire TK. Like, it's Cooler Monster Crossfire TK. I have both red and brown switches. And in my opinion, they are the best budget board that you can ever get. You can get it for like $60. And it just makes wonders, in my opinion. It feels good as well. Like the whole quality of it. I've spilled so much water on my old keyboard. My browns, they're still working properly, like every key. So that is something that I would highly recommend.
Betty?
And I guess I'll go next. Well, I would say like most players either use CTL 480 or some sort of like Wacom Intuos Bamboo variations. And actually, you know, being a part of SPD, like recent topic in the group was that the Chinese players were going after other potential alternatives, and there's even like talks about perhaps getting a 500 hertz polling rate tablet, which would be absolutely amazing. It's still in developmental stage though, so I have nothing on that. Don't come after me. But if you like, I think the consensus right now from what I can see with SPD is that CTL 460 is the best one to go with. I have a CTH 460, which is like the one, basically CTL 460 with just like option to use your finger and on a tablet without the pen itself, and which is quite cool. Its response time is very nice, so I'd recommend that. And if you are on a budget,
retailer though nowadays.
oh yeah, it's
you have to buy
well, you
used
can
one.
still try to. Yeah, used ones. Mine's a used one, by the way. And you can also just, if you're on a budget, get the OS tablet. I mean, it's got a fat as chode pen, but it's got amazing polling rate. I think it's a little bit higher than the average Wacom, the
Oh, yeah,
electromagnet.
the Hillian tablets.
Yeah, and they so if you prefer precise movements, that's the one to go for. And I think like players like Toy, the Poon, they also use OS tablets. So yeah, Huion unfortunately. And also for a keyboard, I'm using a Ducky 2014 Red Switch. But I understand that most people don't. It's expensive, yeah. Most people don't really want to just buy like a huge $100 keyboard for OS. And if you are on a budget, I would say Tesoro numpad, which is just a numpad itself. We get like red switch, blue switch, brown switch, black switch. Like that's like about $20 on a used one, and $40 I think brand new. So it's quite cheap and economic for those who are just wanting to play OS with like a mechanical switch keyboard. It's got enough keys for OS. That's it. That's for sure.
Of course.
Very.
All right. Well, in terms of, it's a bit interesting. I tried the 470 and 480 tablets. Those were the only tablets I really tried. I mean, I'm pretty much happy with both of them. They do their job. They have absolute positioning, which is the only reason you really buy a fucking tablet. But funnily enough, I actually prefer a mouse over a tablet. It feels a lot more. It feels a lot better. I don't like having.
I guess it also depends on the pen. Like if I have a like heavy one that's.
I actually don't like. I just don't know. It just feels a lot more natural and more comfortable using a mouse with my wrist and stuff. I still use a tablet because it's superior, and it's just objectively better.
Yeah.
Absolute no mouse drift, absolute positioning. It's a lot easier to build up muscle memory at least.
Yeah. And that is objective, by the way, since mouse is like both of all, like you have mouse drift and the positioning isn't as precise because it's relative compared to like a tablet that is absolute. When you're here on the tablet, you're there on the screen. That's why it's easier to build up a memory, because that's how we work. When something has a precise movement every time, it's easier to build up a consistent muscle memory compared to when you're using a mouse. So that's also like another tip, I guess, for the whole battle between mouse and tablets.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's one thing that mouse has an advantage over tablet is that mouse has generally a more stable and a much higher polling rate. Like the one I'm using right now is a Razer E Blue one. I'm not the mouse guy, so I don't know.
One tablet that got like a 300 hertz refresh rate.
Yeah, that's possible. Polling rate is they're definitely like good polling rate tablets, but the ones that are generally used by most players, like what I mentioned, like they're like 133 to be exact, and they don't usually stay at 133. You can go as down as low to like 70 hertz. When you're moving just like a small range, or you go up to like 140 something when it's not stable enough.
Yeah, it's fairly dynamic.
Yeah, so that's why you get like a lot of shit misses when you have a bad tablet, because like your movement is just over the place. Like the speed to which you accelerate and decelerate, that matters a lot when you're playing like job maps. Yeah.
And in my opinion, like when it comes to tablets, you generally said I just want to have like a heavier pen. Like I know that it kind of limits the movement a bit, but I kind of want to have this like medium weighted pen.
I want a pen in my mouse. I just want absolute positioning of my mouse, and then I'll be happy. Or probably
absolute, just completely. That makes no sense. What?
You know, the guy on Reddit did, take a mouse, just drill a hole, put a pen in there, and then.
I don't want to drill it. I don't want to drill a hole in my.
Just have it on the tablet.
A tablet mouse.
Just like
man, you need a mouse pad which like tracks the absolute positioning of the middle of the mouse, and that's it. I'll give you any amount of money. Make it happen.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting concept. But I guess we can move into a further question if you have one. Do we? Please. John, do we?
I mean, Dooms still at least can answer.
Dooms.
Oh, to be honest, it's probably not best for me to answer about keyboards because I'm actually sponsored by a keyboard company. because like my
alright.
keyboard I use is a sponsored one, even though it's been fine for me. But then again, this is only the second mechanical keyboard I've used, so I'm not terribly experienced. But I mean, I use a Quasar Redshift, and I have no problems with it. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that much. It's been alright for me. Generally, as long as it's built well and it's got the switch types you want, and it's not going to fall apart, you get a decent brand. You're generally good to go. As far as
and also
I'm
one more
concerned,
thing.
yeah.
If you can, please try out the keyboard before you buy it, because the keys themselves can make a difference. Even though they're old red switches, like the duck key, the duck key red switch is very different from Tesoro red switch because of the pressure you have to apply on these keys. Even though they're both red switch, but the hardness, for lack of a better term, is going to be drastically different across multiple different brands.
I would really recommend to buy like rubberish keycaps. They feel really natural, and it kind of like feels like it's a little bit easier on your fingers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of time, just order something off Amazon and then just send it back, and then order something else and send it back.
There you go.
Then
Their
after
policy,
you've tried everything,
you can abuse
go
it.
for something.
Okay.
Yeah, you can really abuse that.
Yeah, especially like keycaps. Like, try different keycaps until you like find one that you like. Okay, next question. Okay, what makes for the most interesting tournament, solo or team tournaments? In my opinion, when it comes to these closer matches, I would say the tournament is the more enjoyable one, because when they have these 4 people and it gets
Team or
close.
solo? You just said tournament, I think.
What? Oh. When they have these like 4-man teams in tournaments, when things gets really intense, when there's a small gap, it's just insanely, like, that is so unlikely that it makes it so much more hypier. We have seen that sometimes, and I think that is the times where things are the most interesting, I would say. But I guess like even matches will always be the most interesting ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, I suppose with teams, there's more. There are more factors in how a match can go, as opposed to 1v1, where generally, there isn't as many. But I personally enjoy casting both kinds of tournaments. But I suppose in general, you can see why team tournaments are preferred.
Yeah, it can be a little more hassle when it comes to organizing and delays and stuff, since now you have 4 people per team at least that you need to care about and make sure that they're like on time, compared to solo tournaments when it's easier for one person to schedule themselves in. So that's like a huge difference between balancing, especially if you have people like all across the world playing in one team. It can be really hard to get on a good time, I would say.
I suppose, but then again, when you got a team, generally that means out of 8 players, only 4 people need to make it for a particular time. So I guess in certain areas it can be easier.
Minus Wolf, except for the grand
unless
finals.
you have Wolf in your team.
Like, you can't count on him until the grand finals. That's a fact.
Hey, I'm teaming up with Wolf in Dual Cup actually, and to be fair, he's been on point. Apart from one match where we got mixed up, but he's been on point actually.
Apart from one match.
One match,
Yeah.
that's a really good rate for Wolf.
Yeah, Doomsday, you don't know how lucky you are. Over the past years, I've seen him in action. Like his track record, needs to say, is not the cleanest.
Like ass crackers. Like he was.
I have his phone number. He gave every one of us his phone number, and we still couldn't get him.
For information,
the same thing for
Twitch,
me when it comes to when I want to
Twitch,
get him.
Last year in the Dual Cup, Cookies had to call from Japan to wake him up in Poland. Yeah.
Oh no!
I don't know about that.
There was something interesting. I asked Cookiesy if Wolf knows about the match in the tournament, and he's like, I don't know. And then I called Wolf, because obviously he's never gonna think about it ever. That was the first Dual Cup, I think, actually. I called him and he was like, hey Wolf, you have a match. And he's like, oh really? And I was like, you didn't notice any of these 50 highlights on Discord over the past 2 weeks? You didn't? But it was literally my call which made him appear to the match, and not him just casually logging onto his computer and looking at Discord. which a normal person actually does.
Usually, when
just-
I contact Wolf, I go from Discord to Facebook, and lastly on the phone if it's necessary.
Oh, you go phone straight on Wolf.
Yeah,
Forget
it
the
depends.
rest.
Nowadays, he's been better, I guess, when responding on Discord. But yeah, I think that's a good note to end the stream. So I really enjoyed this tournament talk here, and I think we're going to have more of these talks, especially in time for these bigger tournaments, especially like also World Cup. I think that would be a good point to have like another tournament or a tournament podcast where we talk about that tournament alone. Because like during 1 week, especially during group stage, there's a lot you can talk about. There's a lot of things you can talk about.
Yeah. Like the very first week is always the worst one because it's when everyone's playing and it slowly gets easier. Generally how it goes. But yeah.
But
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
That's been it
Good
for
fa-
now.
you know.
Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Evrien can't wave. It feels bad, man.
Evrien can't wave. I'm waving for him.
Okay. All right.
It's okay. My
Have a
hands
good
are
one,
already
guys.
waving in the air.